Grief doesn't always look like tears. Sometimes it looks like sitting alone and looking at old photos, not because you expect them to magically heal you, but because they're all you have left. You cling to memories, frame by frame, frozen in time. Prismo does the same. After Jake's death, he retreats into reruns of their adventures and surrounds himself with infinite distractions. But how he finally breaks that cycle reveals one of the most honest lessons Adventure Time ever taught about grief, and how we survive it. But before we get there, we need to understand how deep Prismo's bond with Jake truly ran. Because in a multiverse of monsters, crowns, and chaos gods, Prismo stood apart not as a warrior or villain, but as something quieter, a gentle presence who lived outside of time with the power to reshape reality, and offering one thing to anyone who entered his time room: a wish. That was the rule. Enter Prismo's chamber and you get a single shot at rewriting your destiny. Most people stepped into Prismo's time room with big plans. They wished for power, immortality, or something even bigger.
I wish for the extinction of all life, for Finn and Jake to go back home.
Huh?
But not Jake. Jake just wanted something to eat.
I wish for a sandwich.
A simple, quiet moment with no strings attached, much to the surprise of Prismo, who just makes him a sandwich instead of using Jake's wish for it. And from that moment, their friendship starts forming. For Prismo, it feels like the first time he's not just used for a one-off wish, but actually seen as a person instead of that cosmic Wishmaster. Jake didn't leave after he got his sandwich. He stuck around, and when he dropped the pickle from his sandwich, Prismo just materializes a jar of pickles.
I love you, Prismo.
Those were probably the first nice words Prismo has heard in a while. After that, their friendship escalates to another level. We see Jake chilling in Prismo's hot tub, talking about relationships and personal struggles, while logs of time spun on the screens around them. Even the cosmic owl joined them later. Together they lounged in bubbling magic, Prismo beatboxing, Jake rapping, Cosmic Owl eating chips.
We're three nice dudes having fun. We got warm bubble water on our buns.
In a realm built for wish fulfillment, this wasn't a transaction, it was a genuine connection. And when it was finally time for Jake to make his wish, Prismo was there to guide him to make sure no monkey paw stuff was going to happen to him.
Wait, dude, look, I like you, so you should know my wishes always got an ironic twist to them.
His wish ended up working out nicely, and thus, Jake left the time room again, but not without a final parting gift.
If you want to come back and hang out sometime, call me. P.
With a gift like that, of course they hung out more. We see them together again in the episode Wake Up, where they almost appear to be two teenagers falling in love.
I'm always smiling when I'm around you. I just noticed that. I always am.
I'm always smiling when I'm around you too.
They party together pretty often apparently, but fate has other plans. When Jake brings Finn to the time room because Finn wants to go to the Citadel to meet his dad, Prismo explains that there's only one way to get there: by committing a cosmic crime. They have to bring some sleeping, hairy, and bald old man to Prismo. Except it's not just any man, it's Prismo himself. The only way he's alive is because that old man is dreaming him into reality. Kinda like Azathoth, the deity of H.P. Lovecraft that dreams stuff into existence. By waking the old man up, they'd essentially be killing Prismo, committing a cosmic crime which would land them locked up in the Citadel. In other words, Prismo is willing to sacrifice himself just so that Jake's best friend can meet his dad. That's how deep their bond went. So, Finn and Jake retrieved Prismo's mortal body and brought him to the time room. But as they arrived, something terrible happened. The Lich killed Prismo's mortal body before Finn and Jake could wake him up, erasing Prismo from existence. Until Finn and Jake perform a memorial service for Prismo and some interdimensional stuff starts happening. Prismo is temporarily back alive through Jake's dreams.
Jake and I established a bro bond that could bring me back through his dreams.
And he explains there's only one way for him to stay that way.
But wait, Jake, that means one of your alternate reality incarnations will sleep for eternity to keep me alive.
Cool, dude.
And just like that, Jake made his choice. If Prismo was going to sacrifice himself for their benefit, he would do the same. That wasn't a plan, that wasn't magic, that was love. It was the kind of friendship we all wish for. Someone who shows up, asks for nothing, and stays. Because Jake never wanted anything from Prismo, except more time with him. And that meant everything. Throughout the main series, we see them hang out for the last time in the episode crossover. After that, everything changes when Together Again rolls around and Jake is confirmed to have passed away. With Jake gone, something shifted in Prismo. He retreats to reruns, watching old Finn and Jake adventures on the screen in his time room. And not just that, he also began ignoring his duty. The only way Prismo can feel just a little happiness is by looking at his old friend Jake on a fictional screen. He did it not as a god granting wishes, but as a friend reaching into memories. But the most obvious change? He has an unkempt beard now. What he once kept pristine and calm is now unshaven chaos, a quiet sign that he's stopped caring for himself, just like someone staying in bed and drinking the day away after a loss. That's a relatable form of grieving. Reliving old memories, letting your hair grow out, and letting the days just slip away. It's a sad reality. We stop living for today and start floating in yesterday, escaping to what feels easier. Even when someone shows up to make a wish, Prismo doesn't guide them anymore with the downsides that a wish could have. He just lets them do whatever. There's no joy in his voice or expression anymore, just a blank stare. He only gets excited thinking about anything related to Jake, like we see when he finally answers the urgent notice that's been beeping in his time room.
Oh, hey. Ooh.
But he wasn't ready for what he was about to see next. Fionna and Cake, alive in the original universe of Finn and Jake. Prismo's duty as a cosmic Wishmaster is to grant wishes which create alternative universes for the people that wished for them. And that doesn't grant him the power to make one for himself, yet he did just that.
I used to really like my job, but after eons of making stuff for others, I wondered what it would be like to make something for myself.
He built a pocket world, one where he could think of infinite options, but he just stuck with everything he already loved. A good fighter with a badass sword, a sick sidekick, and a treehouse to live in.
Huh. Shit, did I just copy Finn and Jake?
It was a world where Finn and Jake could still kind of exist as Fionna and Cake. New names, new setting, but the same dynamic. One where he could keep living inside the idea of what made him happy, without really ever being happy again. That's how the Fionna and Cake series redefines everything we thought we knew about those characters. Fionna and Cake weren't just stories the Ice King imagined, they were Prismo's creation. A passion project, his first reality built for himself, not someone else's wish. Which is a classic coping mechanism. Whenever someone we love dies, we try anything to distract our minds from the sad thoughts, a way to stay close to them without confronting their absence. We scroll through photo albums, play video games, watch endless movies, or keep our loved one's room untouched for years. It's not weakness, it's preparing to move forward again, but you're still there, you still love them so much. The pain is real, and progress feels like betrayal. But not progressing, that also feels like betrayal. Prismo's grief didn't freeze time, it just trapped him inside a version of it. Sadly, because Prismo created an unauthorized universe, he had to place it into the subconscious of the Ice King.
Hey, Ice King, can I store a fan-made alternate universe in your cursed dome?
But when the Ice King was cured at the end of the main series, the door slammed shut. Prismo was locked out.
Without the curse of the magic crown, Simon's brain was no longer magical. So your world must have lost its magic too, and I've been locked out ever since.
Fionna and Cake's world became normal. Their magic powers faded. And the Auditor, Scarab, in charge of making sure that cosmic beings fulfill their duty, he wasn't happy. In fact, he's already knocking on Prismo's door. So, Prismo comes up with an emergency plan. He splits himself in two, juggling emergency protocols and emotional panic.
Quick, down the stairs.
One version tries to maintain protocol and distract the Scarab, the other tries to keep Fionna and Cake safe.
The guy who was at the door? That's the Scarab. He's a jerk god auditor. And if he finds out about you, he's gonna report me.
And he tries everything. He even risks his status as a cosmic being just to keep them alive. But to no avail. The Scarab finds out about Fionna and Cake, and he's there to take care of them. In a last-ditch effort, Prismo tries sending them away.
Into the incinerator with the rest of the trash.
No! They're Fionna and Cake, and they go where they want!
All he needs is the help of Simon to place them in his head again, who doesn't see any reason to.
What's the point?
After he lost Betty, life has just been devoid of purpose for him, too. It's a unique and very real contrast to how dealing with grief looks different for every person. Prismo escapes into the past. Simon becomes depressed. But in the end, he helps Fionna and Cake, and thus, he's willing to become the Ice King again.
I need to become Ice King again.
After these moments, the illusion cracks. Because when Simon breaks his cycle of grief, he's not just embracing his magical identity, he's rejecting the illusion that staying stuck in time is the answer. And this is what Prismo needed to see. Because Simon's grief mirrored his own. The fear, the clinging, the ache for comfort. And yet, Simon lets go. So, finally, Prismo follows. He realizes that he can't hold back change with charm or nostalgia. The world is moving on, and so must he. For so long, Fionna and Cake were just another layer of his escape, a safe little world where he could pretend pieces of Jake still lived on. But now, there's something else. They're alive, with their own wants, struggles, and their own futures, and by helping them, Prismo finds something that he hadn't felt since Jake. Purpose. Not the kind of purpose that distracts from grief, the kind that grows from it. At first, he's trapped, powerless, locked inside the cube while Scarab takes over his time room. He watches Scarab frantically scramble for control, and even then, Prismo can't help but throw out a bit of mockery.
Yeah, Bert!
And slowly but surely, Prismo starts to fight back. In Casper and Nova, we see it fully break through, pounding against his prison, desperate.
Gotta help Fionna and Cake!
In Cheers, he summons help not to rewrite the world, but to protect it as it becomes independent, to give it the chance to grow without his constant interference. And then, he watches as their world canonizes into the multiverse. Not as an accident, not as a loophole, but as something real, allowed to exist without him controlling it and using it for his own grief. And for the first time, Prismo lets it happen. Even Scarab, once his cosmic rival, becomes part of this shift as a punishment by their boss. Prismo offers him comfort, a seat at the hot tub, a shared creative project, not out of pity, but out of genuine understanding. Grief once made Prismo seek isolation. Now healing allows him to offer connection. Proof that he's no longer clinging to frozen memories, but learning to live again. And that leads us back to Jake, where it all started. Prismo doesn't heal by erasing him from memory. He heals by carrying Jake's memory forward, while allowing new stories to begin. Because grief isn't about staying trapped in the past or holding on forever. It's about finding the courage to let life continue. About knowing when to release your grip, to let the next story begin. And if you're looking for actionable advice, we have a suggestion which helps deal with grief in a healthy way. First, realize that grief has a way of breaking time. When you lose someone, moving on too quickly feels wrong. Like the bond you shared wasn't that strong if you're already healing. But the world keeps spinning, and if you stay still while everything else moves forward, you're not really standing still. You're drifting backwards. That's why escapism can feel so comforting. Movies, games, staying in bed, traveling, drinking, anything to give your mind a rest when reality feels too heavy. And for a while, that's okay, as long as it doesn't stick around too long as an unhealthy coping mechanism. Sometimes you do need that breathing room just to stay afloat, but if you stay there too long, it stops being comfort and starts becoming avoidance. Like Prismo building an entire universe to hide inside, until that world became a cage instead of a refuge. So here's the question that might bring you new insights. If you were the one who passed away, and your loved ones were left behind, would you want them to freeze? To spend the rest of their lives trapped in reruns of the past? Or would you want them to carry your memory forward while still living to their fullest? Whatever your answer is to that question, that's also the answer for how you should carry yourself through grief. Not by forgetting, not by pretending, but by living. If you want to see how Adventure Time handled grief from the other side, the moment where Jake passes and Finn has to face life without him, you can watch my video, The Episode Where Jake Dies and What It Teaches. It's one of the most beautiful and painful stories this show has ever told.